Just an atrocious start for the Golden State Warriors, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and it's how you do everything in between. And from 16 minutes of game time in to the end of this one, Warriors never had it in doubt. Just what the doctor ordered. Let's break down how they got the operation done.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, how are you? Welcome to Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 if your bet wins. You'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. On today's show, we are breaking down live what just went down at Chase Center. An easy win over the Utah Jazz, how the Warriors were able to flip it after going down 11 early. Who shocked us? What surprised us? How mad was Steve Kerr in the first half? And how happy is Matt Kolsky after that W? My name's Charlie Walter. Kolsky joins the program today after a quick little sabbatical. Hope you got your rest, man. Let's talk some dubs. How we feeling?
I'm good. I mean, I do wish the people could hear the beautiful rendition of You're So Vain that you were singing right before we went live, but I guess we can only let them in on so much.
We will not sing that live, but when there is a karaoke night and a meet and greet on this program, we'll bust that one out. But
okay, all right.
The Warriors were able to bust out a 21-0 run in the second quarter that broke this thing wide open. It was never actually close after that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was never actually close after that, right? I mean, it was kind of...
You are not wrong.
Yeah, it was kind of a Warriors got up by a ton, and whether it was 16 or 24, it didn't really matter. At that point, you were just watching to see what the rotations looked like and how long Steph Curry was going to end up playing. The answer to that, 29 minutes. Curry goes for 31 to lead the team. He's 6 of 17. One of the most encouraging things for Golden State today would be Buddy Hield, who knocked down 20 4 threes, 20 points overall on his 8 field goals and 13 attempts. The Warriors win the rebounding battle? Without Jonathan Kaminga, Al Horford, and Draymond Green against a team littered with 7-footers. They show some toughness. They use some size. We don't get much Brandon Pajemski. We get a lot of Will Richard. That's when the game kind of flipped when he came in. A plus 29. Final score, Warriors 134, Jazz 117. Let's start with that Warriors run. They were down 11. Steve Kerr was irate to begin this game. There were just defensive lapses that were leading to wide open threes from Keontae George. And after every time Keontae George would knock down a three, he'd look right at the Warriors bench and go, "You guys suck." And it ended up being the Jazz that were not very good as they fall to 5-12. Warriors improved to 10-9. What did the Warriors do during that 21-0 run that impressed you most?
Well, I mean, obviously they defended, when you hold a team scoreless for half a quarter.
And a good offensive team.
Yeah, a potent offensive team anyway. I mean, the thing about the Jazz, and somebody has pointed this out in the chat, is they stink. They are a very bad basketball team. They do not have enough real NBA players in the starting lineup, much less on the team. There are some really talented offensive players, though. I mean, you saw Ace Bailey tonight scored 21 points practically on accident. I mean, that guy has a lot of work to do in terms of like becoming a reliable NBA player, like most rookies, but the talent is wild. I mean, he can score. I think Kalena said it, any which way you want him to. He's something else. Keontae George has made incredible leaps. So yeah, when you hold this team, and I didn't even mention Lauri Markkanen, who's a top 10, I think, scorer in the league right now, they can score and they can rebound. And the Warriors stop them from doing both of those things more often than not after the first quarter tonight. So I think you feel really good about that. It'd be great if you could get one time 48 minutes of good basketball, but beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. And this was an easy win. And even though the first quarter was kind of ugly, I mean, really, it was the first, 3 minutes, when they fell down 11-0. That was the ugly part. If that never happens and they win the first quarter by 2, nobody's thinking that's weird, and they end up winning the game by 35 or whatever it is, right? So a real crap opening to the game. And I don't want to name names, but if you look at the plus minus tonight, I'm not always a plus minus tells the whole story guy, right? Even tonight, I don't think it does. But there's only one guy in the starting lineup who's a minus. And there's one guy on the bench who's been a starter multiple times who has the highest plus minus on the team. And I do not understand that decision, folks. If you ask me to explain it to you, I can't. I will say that the Warriors' 21-0 run coincided pretty directly with Will Richard entering the basketball game.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Look, he wasn't spectacular tonight, but he has been a surprisingly reliable three-point shooter and one of the most consistent and reliable defenders on the team.
And he doesn't turn it over.
And he doesn't do dumb stuff. I mean, with all due respect, Gary Payton is 10 plus years his senior, I want to say. I might be exaggerating that, but significantly older, obviously a lot more NBA experience, and does a lot more dumb stuff than Will Richard.
Same exact numbers, which I thought was funny. Both had 9 and 6.
Yeah, but it just looked very different. And listen, Gary still does a ton of good stuff. I'm really not trying to crack on Gary Payton, but I think Will Richard should be the starter tonight. And I just, it's so bizarre to me that Guy Santos comes into the game before Will Richard does. I mean, I understand Draymond's out, rotations are weird, et cetera, et cetera. Someone in the chat says maybe he's better off the bench. I'd have to look at the numbers. It doesn't feel that way to me. He's had some pretty good starts. I believe he scored 30 in his first start.
Yeah. No, he had to force Steve Kerr to keep him in there, because I agree with you. He's gained a lot of Kerr's respect, but at the same time, he's gotten that youngster quick, just kind of the quick pullback, which is interesting because Pods is really the only one that hasn't had it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Any other rookies stand out from recent years that hasn't gotten that quick yank?
No, not at all.
Pretty much not just Pods, right?
Yeah, absolutely just Pods. And Pods is something we'll probably have to talk about later, whether that's today or another day. I don't know, but he played 16 minutes tonight, and DeAnthony Melton isn't too far away. So I don't know how many he's going to have left if Melton comes back and starts playing regular rotation minutes. I mean, I think, Moody's shot percentage doesn't look great tonight. He was 0 for 5 in the first quarter. So, 2 through 4, he was pretty great. I think you trust Moses Moody a lot more than you do Brandon Pajemski. And just because they're different players in terms of what they are asked to do offensively, Moses Moody just feels like a lower risk offensive player to me. Does that make sense? But we got sidetracked. Will Richard is the main point of what we're saying here, right? You got just an unbelievable find. And I really thought a huge part of the turnaround was him getting in there. And sometimes if you just have a rookie run out on the floor and chase people around like a Tasmanian devil, everybody starts locking up a little tighter. Moses Moody had I guess it wasn't a block really, but the high five stymie of Ace Bailey. They just suddenly looked a lot more alive and energized defensively at the start of the second quarter. And, there's also on the other side, the first half tonight offensively was mostly about Jimmy Butler just looking like he was saying enough is enough, There were a few enough is enough Jimmy Butler possessions in that first half.
Let's get into some of those enough is enough possessions. Let's get into Buddy Hield's night and then the turnovers. Does it shock you that they coincide in a night where Draymond Green is missing? That's coming up on Locked On Warriors.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits saves you hours every week. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. Get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That is right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, Gusto is gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by Wayfair. It is a great time to shop for some furniture because the holiday season is right around the corner. That means it's time to get your home ready. Whether it's seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. The deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. So get that magic wand, boop, and Wayfair will make it easy. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends on December 7th. All right, let's get back to the show.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, man, 10 turnovers by the Warriors. I'd have to go back into the database, crunch the numbers, get out old Poindexter, but it's got to be the lowest total of the season. And the Warriors are pretty much, they were undefeated. They were 8-0 and 1-8 when losing the turnover battle / winning the turnover battle. So 8-0 when they had won. I don't know what they did in the Portland game. I can look that up in a second, but let's just put it this way. They're very good when they don't turn the ball over more than the opposition. And today, just 10 turnovers. They're missing Draymond Green. They ran some combinations that almost felt like the Warriors were just doing less. It felt like less is more. Get good looks. And it looked nice. Draymond missing. How much does that have to do with the offense flowing so smooth today? Because look, Draymond, Steph, telepathic communication. The two-man game is beautiful at times, but it also can be a bit erratic. We know this.
I don't like you saying that it's good for the flow of the offense, because it's not. I mean, Draymond is helpful generally to the flow of the offense. I would point to the fact that in the first 3 quarters of this game, there were 6 turnovers. Right. I mean, they had a couple in garbage time. It should have been less than 10. Pat Spencer blew it in the final 30 seconds of the game. He ruined their single-digit turnover game. But in the first 3 quarters, they had 6 turnovers. And guess who had 3 of them? Wardell, Stephen Curry, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, if Draymond was there, they probably have at least 3 more, because neither of these dudes can keep it under 3 ever. But I honestly think we're at a point now where it's a tough ask, but it's just got to be the other guy's responsibility. And I think that starts with Jimmy Butler. You know, a 0 turnover game for him tonight, which...
What was the no-nonsense Jimmy Butler that you saw tonight? Describe some of the action that you saw.
I just mean, when they got down in that first quarter, there were a couple times, late first, early second, where Jimmy just put his head down and went to the front of the rim. And ultimately, let's see, first half for Jimmy was 6 of 8, no 3-point attempts, only shot 1 free throw, 13 points. So it's not lighting the world on fire. But there was a certain amount of when you're, you know, second star like that, who is the guy that can kind of put his head down and just take it to the front of the rim, is just kind of like, you know what, guys, this is the Jazz. Like, we just have to stuff it down their throats. I mean, this is not, it was a don't play with your food sort of stretch from Jimmy. And I think that carried through the rest of the game. That and a more intense defensive effort. Because, like, you know, it's a good scoring game by most standards, but 134 actually isn't that great against the Jazz. I bet they've given up more than that at least 5 times this year. And it wasn't super explosive, right? Steph was good, not great. Jimmy was good, not great. Buddy had a good game, but that's still only 20 points. Like, it was just the Jazz aren't good enough, you know? And it was kind of a workman-like 20-something or 17 ultimately point win. And there's value in that because that's what it should have looked like against, you know, the Bucks without Giannis or an Indiana team that was severely depleted. The Blazers is a bit of a different problem, and we can talk about that another time. But there have been too many games this year where I think they just haven't done this thing, which is take care of business when it's business time. And Jimmy Butler, I feel like, set the tone for that in the second quarter and late in the first and early second quarter.
The big fellas for Golden State. We know that Steve Kerr made big time emphasis on getting a little bit bigger, talking about it at his last press conference, saying that the Warriors need to change up some combinations. They were embarrassed on the glass against Portland, and that maybe it's time to start thinking running some bigger lineups. They ran Quentin Post for 28 minutes, Trace Jackson Davis for 20. They got some Guy Santos in there. They went less of Brandon Podziemski than really we've seen in like a year, it feels like. Like, Podziemski never gets 18 minutes in a game where you're shorthanded. He was down there with Pat Spencer is one of the lowest on the team, him, Guy, and Pat. So that to me is kind of crazy. Steve Kerr and the big ball, bringing in some bigger lineups. Do you think this is something where a year ago he was like, you know, it's time to hand JK the keys, Draymond's going to come off the bench, and then like a week later that was just completely nixed? Do you think it's something along those lines, or do you think this is here to stay? Maybe some bigger ball. And did you see bigger ball today in terms of their combinations, or did it just look different without Draymond out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just cobbling it together without Draymond or Al Horford.
Do you think it will look different when Draymond's back? You think we're going to see Draymond at the 5 a ton still, or do you think they're actually going to mix this thing up and say maybe it's not working as well as it once did?
The problem with not playing Draymond at the 5, I mean, you can play Draymond next to Post. You really can't play Draymond and Trace together because Trace is not a great one-on-one defender at all. And he's not, I mean, he can come get weak side blocks because he's very bouncy, but he's not big enough to really protect the rim. So he kind of kills you defensively. And neither of them can shoot. So I just don't know how that works. You can play Draymond with Quentin Post, and they do, and I think they'll continue to. I think that should also allow them to play Kaminga at the 3 if they want to, which they've done some this year. As far as Kaminga's situation now, like, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
We'll talk about that next block because it's weird, man. It's kind of weird. There are always the rumors that float. How injured is he? You want to give him the benefit of the doubt, clearly, but it does feel weird that it's weird.
The whole situation's been weird since they drafted him, and hopefully someone writes a book someday because there's obviously so much going on that we don't know about. I mean, there's just no way. Yeah, shout out Upper Playground. I definitely have too much Upper Playground gear in the closet. There's just something weird going on. There always has been, and what we know has never been enough to explain the weirdness. So we'll see.
Give me 1 second. My computer's dying. This is very rare. I'm going to plug in this battery real quick. But let me tee you up with this question. Jonathan Kaminga, January 15th. Is he going to be a Warrior? Does the injury that's happened that we have no idea the extent of it, there's not a lot of information on it, does that make you think other than maybe you did 2 weeks ago when things were really humming, 3 weeks ago, I guess, when things were really humming, that maybe this experiment's over?
I mean, listen. I think I said there was still an outside chance. At various point, I've said there was still an outside chance to reconcile this thing. I mean, I suppose I wouldn't deny that existing at some level still, but it's so weird. It's over. The whole thing's overcooked. He shouldn't be on this team anymore. Like, it doesn't really matter who you think screwed what up when. The fact that, and this part is on the Warriors, really, the fact that they haven't just moved on at some point, when clearly something is rotten with the relationship, and clearly at least some people who matter want nothing to do with the guy. To keep him around and jerk him around in the way that they have is just not.
So it's not knee tendonitis, is what you're saying. You
maybe it is. Well, that's what I'm saying. I have no idea what it is, but it's weird. It's weird. It's weird that knee tendonitis more or less came out of nowhere. I saw a quote.
And the longer it lasts, the more you think that it's shelving him to make sure he's healthy for a deal.
Well, that or him shelving himself to make sure he's. I'm not
kind of like I showed you what I could do early in the season. I'm good to go. I am going to make my money. Teams have already been interested in me, a la Sacramento. And then you look at Sacramento and they got a dude that's on the shelf and Sabonis for a while. Look, I'm not putting on the tinfoil hat now. Injuries are real. I'm just saying.
I don't think the Warriors can take Sabonis, but putting that specific deal aside, it just feels rotten. The whole thing, both sides of it, it feels rotten. And it feels like he has just been on this team at least a year, if not 2 or 3 longer than he should have been for everybody involved. I don't think anyone has benefited from the way this situation has gone. So we'll see what happens. Anything's possible, as the great Kevin Garnett once said, but it sure looks like
Jason Tatum.
R.I.P. me.
Sorry.
I'm so old. Yeah.
I'm joking.
It's not good. It's not good. So right now, I am operating from he's not part of the team standpoint, and we'll see what that asset turns into. But I will not be shocked, even though he can't be traded till January. I will not be shocked if we don't see him again in a Warriors uniform. As much of a bummer and as stupid as I think that would be for everyone, again, for everyone involved.
3 days ago that they were reevaluating him on Sunday, and if he was good to go, they were going to throw him out there.
This is actually the thing. I wouldn't be saying this except that 2 things. Number one, the MRI. They took it, and the Warriors specifically announced it was clean. Which, like, okay.
Either you're a coward or you're
Well, let's just say if Steph Curry was complaining about knee pain and an MRI came back clean, I think it would be announced differently or not at all. But then I also saw a quote from Steve Kerr where he said, he used the phrase, "he tells me." Like, he tells me he's not moving that well. So until he's moving well, without pain, which just like, that seems like a special effort to make sure we know Jonathan Kaminga is the one making the decision.
Yeah, and I'm really
not the medical staff.
Really interested to see what they get from this deal, if there is a deal.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I'm not. Everyone knows I've always been a Kaminga supporter, and I still think he has a potential career, but Dark Lucian is not the first person that I've heard mention that, is all I'll say about that.
And that is the ankle sprain that kept him out a long time last season.
It was a really long absence. And
30 games.
And listen, it may be totally fair. It may be that Jonathan Kaminga, because of the way he plays, doesn't feel comfortable without being really solid on his legs. Again, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. I just think the whole
thing stinks. Something smells, and it's not the fish.
Yeah, and frankly, it has stunk for years. And again, what we know to be true has never been a sufficient explanation for what we've seen with our own eyes. So who knows? Again, I hope someone writes a book someday. For now, I think the best assumption is that whether we see him for another few games in a Warrior uniform, by February, he will not be.
I pulled a Jonathan Kaminga autograph card, and his autograph is literally just a J and a K. No cursive, no nothing. It's just J, K. And I'm like, that says a lot.
I'll tell you what, you can that means you can read more letters in his autograph than in most people's autographs. Definitely more than you can read in my autograph.
All right, let's get into the performance from Buddy Hield. Let's talk some Steph Curry and just overall what we thought about the Golden State Warriors win. We'll tie a ribbon on this thing. We'll get you ready for the path ahead. And yeah, good vibes. I mean, no need to sour this thing with the unknowns.
Seriously, this was a big win. We had fun. Buddy was smiling. Let's go.
Amen. We'll be right back.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Today's episode is brought to you by America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel. The NBA's back. There's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the association. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by our favorite jeanswear. That is Doer, with a physical location in Hayes Valley in San Francisco. Let's tell you a little bit more about Doer and why you should look into them. First of all, the Performance Denim Slim Straight. Amazing. It's got the Cool Max technology. You can literally just open up the waist, stretch it out. It's got 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. But while you're doing it, you can feel kind of that Cool Max in there to where it feels good to the touch. Thing is, it's cool, obviously, when you're in a hot room, but you go out in the cold, you feel it, and it's warm. It makes no sense. That's what the Cool Max does. It regulates your temperature and wicks away moisture. It's perfect for the unpredictable San Francisco days. It combines classic jeanswear style with the comfort and performance of athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. Once you try them, you'll never go back. Visit their new store that's now open at 567 Hayes Street in Hayes Valley. Mention my code LOCKEDONSF for 15% off your first order, or shop online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. Doer is spelled D-U-E-R. Get that 15% off. Shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. All right, let's get back to the program.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
All right, Buddy Hield and his performance today, 20 points. It tends to happen that when Buddy Hield scores 20 points or more, the Warriors win just about every game. God, we needed this performance from Buddy, man. What did you see from him overall? Because obviously the shots were falling, 4 of 8 from 3. But in terms of his playmaking, in terms of his defense, in terms of his spatial awareness, what'd you think?
That's what I see right there, what Frank said. Buddy be trying, man.
It's always trying.
Yeah. And we've said it a dozen times.
He's a hard dude to not like because he brings a good attitude to the game. He's a flawed player.
We've said it over and over again, man. On the good nights, it's great, and they're gonna come. Hopefully, it's a lot better than 2 out of 19, which is what it's been so far. I expect by the end of the season, he'll probably get back close to 50-50 for good versus bad. That's just kind of what you get. And there are bad streaks and good streaks. Last year, it was the opposite, if I recall properly. It was hot as fish grease to start off the season, and there were a bunch of 20-point games. And then there was a stretch in the second half of the season that we probably don't want to talk about very much. You know, I don't know where he ended up, but we all felt good about it at the end of the season, right? My suspicion is we're going to have a run of Buddy this year, provided he stays on the team, because, you know, his contract is pretty tradable. But provided he's here, I think there will be a 10 to 20 game stretch where we're like, thank God for Buddy. You know, that's what it is. Now, unfortunately, when there's a bunch of bad games in a row, you start to focus on all the other unfortunate things, like the fact that almost anyone in the league can just blast right past him, even though he is trying defensively. Like the fact that he's good for one absolutely how on earth could an NBA player make that mistake turnover almost every game? That's just part of the experience. So cherish the nights like tonight, because tonight was a lot of fun. He really got it going. He even got a couple of nice cuts to the basket and nice layup finishes. You got the full Buddy tonight.
What about Quentin Post, man? He looks pretty good out there defensively. I think he looks stronger this season. The numbers are nothing crazy. I think he had 9 and maybe 9 and 8 were the final stats from him. But
not even.
9 and 6,
9 and 4. But he did have 5 assists.
Okay. What do you think his ceiling is?
What is his ceiling? I think his ceiling is kind of a poor man's Al Horford, like late career Al Horford. He's young. Al was different, but just the sound defensive, offensive spacer at center. Now, Post he is not as good of a defender as Al Horford and likely never will be, but he is taller, which is going to make it a little easier for him to be a rim protector. He's not going to need to be the sort of, Horford, you can see, dude, that guy can barely move. And almost every time he's in the game, he just is smacking shots all over the place. That guy knows how to play defense deep in his soul. And Quentin Post is never going to be that, but he can learn, and he's already improved, and he's tall, and he's not frail. Like, he's a pretty big dude, and I imagine he'll put on more muscle as time goes on. So I think his ceiling is a good starting floor spacing NBA center. Is he an all-star? I don't know, probably not, but a Miles Turner-esque sort of production I don't think is unrealistic at the absolute top level. I think more likely than not, he's like a 10 to 15 points a game, mostly on 3-pointers, and your defense is all right when he's in there, and that's pretty good.
Rockets are pretty good, and they're next up. They're 11 and 4 after beating the surprisingly good Phoenix Suns 114-92. Kevin Durant will be out for the game against the Warriors. How many times is Durant out against the Warriors? It took him like 3 years to make his return to Chase because he was always out.
Most of that's been injuries. This time he has some sort of family thing, and I'm going to assume that's real.
Yep. So Durant's going to be out for the game. They will have plenty of other dudes, though. This Rockets team's loaded. Jabari Smith gave him 17 the game today. Şengün gave him 18. Amen Thompson had 28 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds.
Yeah.
Thompson, I don't think has made that leap that I think you expected him to make. It looks pretty similar to what it was last year. He's been a little bit better, but it's not like he's been all NBA or anything along those lines. I don't think
he's been all
all-star.
defense.
Yeah, well, he was all defense last year, right?
Yeah, he's been all defense, and I think his offense has improved. I think,
he's improved.
The Van Vliet injury has led to... He was
good last year, is what I'm saying, and he's good now. Reed Shepherd's the one that's really improved, although he didn't really do a ton today with just 7.
Yeah, I don't know if even improved is the right word. He's just playing.
He got opportunity.
Yeah, he's getting the opportunity, and he still struggles in the place you'd think he would struggle, but he's good at the things you think he was good at. So he's helping them just in terms of finding people to replace Van Vliet, which I think has been a little harder than they thought, but they're just as good as I thought they would be, man. Even without Van Vliet, they're
shooting top in the NBA, 42% from 3 in the game today. They're at about 42% on the season, and
they're just a tough matchup for the Warriors too.
And they got the right guys taking shots. Like Thompson's only going to take 1, if that. Jabari Smith's been knocking down some threes this year. Tari Eason, when he didn't play today, but when he does, he's been knocking down threes. Aaron Holiday's gotten off to a nice start. Okogie, they've gotten a ton from some of the guys that needed to step up. The Okogies, the Holidays, and the Reed Shepherds of the world. Like this
is where it's at on Wednesday. They're going to be trying to get Reed Shepherd on Steph all night, and the Rockets are going to be trying to get Reed Shepherd on Will Richard all night, and we'll see how that goes.
Wait, Reed Shepherd's good defensively. Am I crazy?
he's too little.
Dude, he's good defensively. I'm pretty sure he's really good defensively.
In college, maybe, not in the NBA.
Okay. I thought he was a pretty good defender. But anyways, I guess we'll find out firsthand, right? We get to scout him. Warriors and Rockets, that game is on. Give me the date, Kolsky. Give me the date.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wednesday, 7 p.m. local
26th.
time at Chase Center. Rockets, Dubs, a little rematch of the playoffs last year. And the Warriors get a nice win tonight against the Utah Jazz. Final score, 134-117 for the Dubs. They improved to 10-9 on the season. For Matt Kolsky, I'm Chuck Walter. This is Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.